You stand in Worms, 1114. Tallow smoke stings your throat as whispers about the bedding ritual and dynastic airs pass along the stone corridor. The chamber smells of wax and damp linen. Torchlight wavers on the bedposts. You are 12, a king's daughter sent to marry an emperor. The archbishop has just left a blessing on the bed. Servants linger, waiting for orders that are not spoken aloud. Stay with me for the first rule. Your ladies stand near the chest with your trousseau. The imperial steward counts each witness on his fingers. The confessor's eyes stay on the mattress, not on you. Their presence matters to you now because proof matters more than privacy. You keep your hands still so the bracelets do not clink. The door opens and closes again. The routine continues. This ritual is not theater to you. It is policy. In church teaching of the age set down in Gratian's decretum around 1140, marriage rests on consent. With 12 as the threshold for a girl and 14 for a boy, consummation confirms it in practice. Gratian. Decretum C. 27 2 quetzales to 4 quetzales. You know these numbers because priests drilled them into your lessons. Tonight, the court will expect signs that the union is secure. A knock interrupts your breath. One door, many eyes outside. The steward orders the curtains drawn, then half drawn, then tied back again. He is following household custom. In some courts, witnesses escort the pair to bed and remain until the covers are settled. In others, linen is inspected the next morning. Later writers such as Jean Froissart describe noble marriages where a crowd escorted the couple and the chamber was blessed in public form. The details vary, but the aim is the same: verification. Froissart, Chroniques. You sit on the edge of the mattress. The cloth itches the backs of your knees. The confessor mutters a short prayer for fertility. You feel the wool under your palm, coarse and dry. A matron of the household nods at you once, as if you are an official document being sealed. Exactly a year earlier, you were betrothed by proxy. Clerks wrote your name in Latin. You practiced replies in a language that is still heavy in your mouth. Older women explained that the first night would be supervised. They said it calmly, the way they explained fast days and feast days. Back to Worms, 1114. The steward finally clears the room to the threshold. He does not go far. The door remains unlatched. The chamber is not yours. It belongs to the alliance. You draw a slow breath and keep your gaze on the carved post so you don't stare at the doorway. Rules live in the silence. You think of what can be recorded, what can be denied, and what can be staged. You think of how a sheet can be carried, how a toast can stand in for evidence, how a blessing can stand in for sight. The secret is close, but not to be named yet. For now, you follow the sequence the court expects: blessing, escort, settling, withdrawal to the door. The door stays unlatched. The steward breathes at the threshold. Your ladies fold their hands. You watch their eyes. They wait to see if the rules are kept. You feel the rough weave under your palm. The smell is tallow and damp wool. Your throat is dry. First rule: witnesses outrank privacy. The matron of the household remains nearest the bed. She has authority over the sheets. 2 chamberlains hold the curtains cords. The confessor keeps his place by the door. Their presence matters to you because proof will travel faster than rumor if they agree on what they saw or what they can swear they saw. You swallow and nod once. The steward nods back. A year earlier, you learned the canon formula. Consent makes the marriage. Consummation completes it in life. Gratian's decretum fixed the jurist's ages at 12 for you, 14 for him. Your tutors repeated it until you could recite it without thinking. You can recite it now. Who decides what counts as proof tonight? Exactly 3 days earlier, you processed beneath vaults in Mainz Cathedral. You exchanged vows under the emperor's banners. Contemporary annals place the rite there on January 7th, 1114. The annals of Hildesheim record the feast and the grandeur. You remember the incense and the weight of the crown. You remember the cold on your fingers. Back to Worms, 1114. The steward speaks softly through the door. He gives the order for the chamberlains to step back. The matron lifts the corner of the upper sheet. She checks for pins and for a mark she placed herself. It is a control. She uses it to detect substitution. You watch her face. She makes no sign. Not all courts demanded the same display. In some houses, the sheet is shown early or not at all. In others, an oath before the confessor stands in place of inspection. Later writers loved the dramatic flourish, but practice varied by region and by family. Froissart describes escort and blessing in public style. Canonists like James Brundage, writing in our time about their rules, note that law preferred sworn testimony and mutual consent to crude proof when scandal loomed. You keep these options in your mind like steps you can choose in a dance you did not choreograph. What if there is no blood? Delay the answer. Here is the context first. A century from your night, the Fourth Lateran Council, 1215, will tighten procedure. It will require public bans. It will reduce the forbidden degrees of kinship. Its aim will be fewer clandestine unions and cleaner pedigree lines. Canon 51 will harden the expectation of public oversight. Tonight you live under earlier custom, but the impulse is the same. Communities want controlled marriages and unchallenged heirs. Back to Worms, 1114. The matron clears her throat. Her gesture means the attendants must withdraw to the sill. The steward leaves the door on the latch. The confessor murmurs a formula for fruitfulness. He steps back and lowers his eyes. The chamber belongs to nothing private. It belongs to the alliance. The clock inside the corridor keeps its own time. You ask again, silently, what if there is no blood? The brief answer is this: not every body bleeds, and everyone in this corridor knows it. In such cases, households rely on oaths, on the matron's word, on the groom's public toast, on the absence of any formal challenge. Law does not require a cloth, politics sometimes does. You file the answer away. A new question replaces it. Who keeps the cloth if there is one? The matron will, in most places. Sometimes the brides can insist on custody. Sometimes the groom's household archives it like a bond. The choice signals who holds leverage in the months ahead. You see the matron glance at the chest. You see the steward glance at her. You understand what it means for you. Tokens decide who tells the story later. The latch stays loose. The corridor hum dies away. You hear the confessor's soft breath at the door. Your hands lie flat on the sheet so the matron can see them. The room holds its shape because everyone knows the order. A second rule hides in plain sight. The clergy taught you that words make the bond. I take you, spoken freely, creates marriage. Consummation strengthens it in practice and inheritance, but law rests on consent. Gratians decretum, summarized by James A. Brundage. That is why the corridor watches the words you said in minds as much as anything you may do here. Witnesses enforce speech. Tokens only help the story. Who guards which story? Exactly that same evening, the steward prepared two paths. If proof is requested, the matron will present the cloth or swear to propriety. If proof is not requested, the steward will present a toast in hall and declare the union perfect. Both paths exist in household custom described by later chroniclers like Jean Froissart. Both aim at one outcome, no grounds for challenge. Back to Worms, 1114. One answer creates a new risk. You know the risk by name, impediment. If a union can be challenged, consanguinity, pre-contract, coercion, or impotence, the door opens for annulment. A century later, the Fourth Lateran Council, 1215, will codify clearer rules on bans and kinship to limit such contests. Canonists such as Hostiensis will cite papal decretals to guide judges through these cases. Tonight you live before those refinements, but your household already thinks in those terms. They manage proof to keep courts away. So here is the secret. The bedchamber is not private life. It is proof-making. The people at your door convert gestures into legal facts. They record what was said. They decide what was seen. If needed, they replace sight with oath and oath with feast. Law prefers consent and sworn testimony. Politics prefers whatever will settle the room. Gratian, Brundage. Once you see this, the pressure feels inevitable. Everyone came to confirm a succession, not to witness intimacy. The next question cannot wait. What if the groom cannot perform? Ecclesiastical courts across the 12th to 13th centuries heard such pleas. They appointed inquiries, questioned spouses, sometimes consulted matrons or physicians. In rare cases, they ordered a trial of Congress with designated witnesses, controversial even then, before judges decided whether impotence was permanent and prior to the union. If so, the marriage could be annulled. If not, the couple was ordered to cohabit, reported by canon lawyers in the wake of Gratian and in papal decretals. Back to Worms 1114. You look at the chest where the matron will store whatever token the household agrees to keep. You think of your father's council and of imperial lords who expect a clear line of heirs. You think of how quickly a doubt can become a petition at a bishop's court. You breathe once and nod for the steward to close the door to a finger's width. You will not control the story alone. The door settles to a finger's width. The steward waits at the hinge. The matron watches your hands. You keep still. You feel the linen warm under your palms. The calendar decides your nights. Your confessor taught the forbidden times. No intercourse on Sundays. No intercourse on major feasts. None during Lent or Advent. None on ember days, vigils, or the days before communion. Burchard of Worms listed these in his decretum in the early 1000s. The rule is penance, not politics. But politics bends to the rule. Your household schedules visits between holy blocks. The steward keeps a list. The matron keeps another. Rules limit chances. Pressure does not. At dawn the next day, the hall expects a toast and a smile. The steward will read the room. If the court wants proof, he presents the matron. If not, he offers wine. You will eat the spiced pears and keep your back straight. You will not speak of doors or latches. Exactly 3 months later, the women check your body. They ask about your last bleeding. They bring a small glass and a sprig of rosemary. A midwife whispers a test from Salerno. Examine urine for color and clouding. Watch for a sweet scent. Note morning nausea. The Trotula text describes such household checks in plain terms. Salerno, 12th century. Edition Monica H. Green. The matron notes the results. She does not smile. Back to Worms 1114. Who controls access to you? The steward does. Also your confessor. Also the women close to your bed. They work from different aims. The steward wants heirs. The confessor wants order. The women want you alive in childbed. Their advice often clashes. Your nights get moved on the wax tablet. The calendar page changes. Your patience does not. Exactly a year earlier, the betrothal terms gave your kin leverage. If no heir appears within a set time, they may seek surety or concessions. Annulment is not automatic. It needs an impediment proved in court. But absence of children feeds rumor. Chroniclers later did this to you. They named your first marriage barren. William of Malmesbury and other writers noted that the emperor died childless in 1125. Their words stick even when causes stay unclear. Back to Worms 1114. Rumor can outrun canon law. Gratian's decretum says consent makes marriage. The courts prefer sworn testimony over linen. But households know that crowds prefer a good story over a careful verdict. So they manage symbols. Relics come to your chamber. Priests bless your belt. Physicians advise certain foods. Poets hint at fault. The game is not fair, and you know it. What if the rumor names you? Then the steward will stage more visibility. Doors open wider. Visits happen when more eyes can count the steps. Gifts go to shrines with famous cures. Letters carry lists of your pious works. The aim is not your comfort. The aim is the succession. Back to Worms 1114. You breathe. You keep the rhythm the corridor gives you. You understand the secret now. The bedchamber is a workshop for facts. You can help shape them. You cannot own them. The next test comes with the first missed month. At dawn the next day, the matron orders quiet. She wants your first step slow and steady. The room smells of tallow and rosemary. You sip watered wine so your hands stop shaking. Pregnancy turns rules into schedules. 3 months later, the women bring the glass again. They watch color and clouding. They ask about faintness at rising. These checks come from household practice tied to Salerno medicine. The Trotula text describes signs, diet, and cautions in plain language. Salerno, 12th century. Editor Monica H. Green. The matron notes your answers on a wax tablet. She sends the steward a message with no words in it, Only the tablets scrape. Questions arrive before proof does. Exactly that same evening, the steward stages a small dinner. He needs the hall to breathe normally. He needs the lords to talk of hawks, not heirs. He raises a toast to your good health. He does not say more. The confessor nods without looking up. The chamberlains relax their shoulders. Back to Worms, 11:14. What if the next month brings blood? The women know what to do. They bring rue and rest. They lower your visits on the calendar. They ask for more days between wifely duties. The confessor agrees. Burchard of Worms listed abstinence after childbirth and at certain times as part of penance and order, decretum, early 1000s. The rule protects bodies. The rule also slows the court's clock. The corridor hates slow clocks. If the months pass without a swelling belly, the household tightens its display. The steward widens doors again. The matron sits closer. The confessor repeats the blessing at the mattress foot. He prefers oaths to cloth. Canon law prefers consent and sworn testimony. Gratian made that the backbone of teaching a generation after you. Decretum, see point 1140, see James A. Brundage. But symbols still do the quiet work. A girdle goes to a shrine. A feast day vow is recorded. Where does this end if no heir comes? Delay the answer. Here is the path first. Your union can be attacked only with an impediment. Kinship is the sharpest blade. Before the Fourth Lateran Council, 1215, some courts counted kin out to the 7th degree. Lateran forecut this to the 4th and demanded public bans, canon 50 to 51. Those changes came after your night, but the logic is already here. Fewer secret matches, fewer lawsuits, clearer lines. Back to Worms, 1114. If a challenge comes, the court will not review sheets. It will review words. It will ask about consent, age, kin, and pre-contract. It may ask about impotence. Canonists recorded inquiries and rare trials of Congress. Judges then ordered cohabitation or declared a nullity. The process is slow. The corridor is not. Politics rarely waits for courts. Exactly 38 years later, Eleanor of Aquitaine stood at bugency. Her marriage to Louis VII ended on consanguinity grounds. Contemporary chronicles record the ruling. Robert de Torigny noted the annulment in 1152 and the custody of daughters that followed. In that case, bedding customs did not save a union. Bloodlines undid it. Your ladies use her example to scare you into patience. It works. Back to Worms, 1114. A different example calms the hall. In 1396, Isabella of Valois crossed the Channel at age 6 to wed Richard II. The treaty included a clear non-consummation clause until maturity. Chroniclers like Froissart described the ceremonial care and the public handling of her status. Law shielded her body. Politics used her presence. The rule there was written, not guessed. Written terms beat whispered customs. Your steward cannot write a new treaty, but he can copy the pattern. He drafts a charter promising your morning gifts, your dower, and your safety in lying in. He prepares a formal notice that no betting will occur on forbidden days. He asks the bishop to seal it. He wants the corridor to see ink, not rumors. Back to Worms, 1114. You feel the linen warm beneath your palms. You watch the door. You hear the confessor's breath. You decide to speak first when the steward whispers through the hinge. You will ask for a public oath in the hall. You will ask that the matron keep the chest. You will ask that the calendar be read aloud. You turn proof into a plan. The steward signals. The latch lifts. Cool air enters from the corridor. You rise and smooth the linen with your palm. The matron takes the chest. The confessor carries the small cross. You nod once. The plan begins. The hall will decide what it believes. Exactly that same morning, you walk between the chamberlains. Your steps are even. The matron follows with the chest. The steward holds the charter that fixes dower, lying in protections, and the calendar rules he copied into clear script. He wants sightlines. He wants order. Back to Worms, 1114. One oath can silence a week of rumor. You take the dais. The confessor raises the cross. The steward reads your names as he recorded them in the marriage rite. He repeats the words you spoke under the vaults at Mainz. Consent first. Then household peace. He invites sworn testimony. The matron steps forward. She swears that the rites were observed, that the chamber was guarded, and that the chest holds all tokens kept by custom. She does not open it. She does not need to. B-roll. Priest's hand touching the cross to a witness's fingers. Close-up of a sealed chest on a table. A clerk writing the words testis juravit. No cloth appears. The oath stands. The steward lifts a small cup. He gives the health toast. He names your safety in lying in. He declares visits will follow the calendar already sealed. He asks the lords to answer, so be it. The answer comes as one sound. The confessor lowers the cross. The hall breathes again. Back to Worms, 11:14. You chose oath over linen. You chose witnesses over spectacle. Canon law favors sworn word and mutual consent. Gratian's teaching made that the guide in your century, decretum, see point 1140, see James A. Brundage. Household practice gave the corridor other tools, but you did not need them. The matron keeps the chest. The steward keeps the charter. You keep your voice. Exactly 3 months later, the women will bring the glass again. They will check signs. The steward will guard the door on holy days as Burchard of Worms listed in his decretum, early 1000s. If questions rise, the oath here will meet them. If peace holds, the hall will remember this morning. Either way, today sets the rule. Back to Worms, 11:14. Clarity is the strongest protection you own. You step down from the dais. Courtiers stand aside. Your ladies close around you. The steward bows. The matron returns the chest to your apartments. The confessor blesses the threshold. The corridor falls quiet. The chamber is yours for 1 hour. You sit and drink. Your hands stop shaking. You ask yourself one last question. What does safety cost when power wants speed? The answer is simple but hard. It costs display. It costs patience. It costs the choice to turn private acts into public facts on your terms, not on theirs. Today, you paid that cost. You name your rule and live by it. You are not the rumor. You are the record. You are the oath that held when the hall watched. And when the next test comes, you will call them back to the threshold and start again. Privacy ends at the door. Dignity does not. If you want more of these quiet rules behind loud history, stay with me for the next story.